Ever wonder what happened to Elvis after the army? Did the king lose his crown when he returned from military service? Many fans think Elvis Presley's best work ended when he was drafted in 1958. But what if there's gold hiding in those later years? The truth is, while Elvis's post-army career was filled with movie soundtracks and commercial releases, there are stunning musical treasures most casual listeners have never discovered. These overlooked gems show that even when critics claimed Elvis had lost his edge, the king was still recording remarkable music that deserves a second listen. Number 12. Tomorrow is a Long Time, 1966. Have you ever heard Elvis cover Bob Dylan? This haunting track was buried on the Spin-Out soundtrack album, a movie tie in that few took seriously. Elvis transforms Dylan's folk composition into something deeply personal. The sparse arrangement features gentle acoustic guitar and Elvis's vulnerable, intimate vocals that showcase his incredible interpretive abilities. Dylan himself once called it the one Elvis recording I treasure the most, yet most Elvis compilations ignore it completely. What makes this performance special is how Elvis strips away his usual showmanship and delivers something raw and authentic. Recording during a late-night session, after completing his movie obligations, Elvis connected with the melancholy lyrics about loneliness and separation. His voice carries a weariness that suggests he understood the emotional weight of lines like, "If today was not an endless highway on a profound level." The track demonstrates that beneath the glitzy movie star image, Elvis remained a sensitive artist capable of remarkable depth when given the right material. Number 11. How Great Thou Art, 1966. Can a gospel song show Elvis at his most powerful? While Elvis's gospel recordings are often acknowledged by serious fans, this particular performance from How Great Thou Art album remains underappreciated by casual listeners. Elvis didn't just sing gospel music, he lived it. His rendition of this traditional hymn won him a Grammy Award, yet it's rarely mentioned alongside his secular hits. The power in Elvis's voice as he builds through each verse is nothing short of spectacular, culminating in a final chorus that shanks his remarkable vocal control and emotional conviction. What makes this recording special is how Elvis blends his rock and roll sensibility with deep spiritual reverence. The arrangement gradually builds from quiet contemplation to majestic celebration, with Elvis's voice soaring to heights that give listeners chills, regardless of their religious beliefs. Studio musicians who worked with Elvis frequently cited his gospel recordings as the sessions where he seemed most free and passionate. This track represents Elvis at his most authentic, pouring his heart into music that connected him to his Southern roots and personal faith, far from the contrived movie songs he was often required to record. Number 10. Guitar Man, 1967. What happens when Elvis reconnects with his roots? This Jerry Reed penned track captures Elvis returning to a more organic sound after years of formulaic movie songs. When Elvis first attempted to record Guitar Man, something was missing. The studio musicians couldn't capture the distinctive guitar lick from Reed's original, The Solution. Bring in Jerry Reed himself to play on the session. The resulting track has an authenticity and energy that had been missing from many of Elvis's mid-60s recordings. Elvis sounds engaged and invested, his voice wrapping perfectly around lyrics that could have been written about his own journey from Mississippi poverty to worldwide fame. The song's narrator is a musician with no money at all, but a song in my soul, echoing Elvis's own humble beginnings. producer Felton Jarvis deserves credit for pushing for a more authentic sound here, moving away from the lush orchestrations that had dominated Elvis's recordings. The track later served as the cornerstone for the critically acclaimed Guitar Man NBC TV special in 1968, which helped relaunch Elvis's career beyond movies. Despite its quality and significance, in Elvis's catalog, the original single release stalled at pound 43 on the charts, leaving it overlooked by many greatest hits collections. Number 9. Reconsider Baby, 1960. Did Elvis ever really stop being a bluesman? This scorching blues cover from Elvis's first post-army session shows that military service hadn't tamed his wilder musical instincts. Recorded in March 1960 for the Elvis Is Back album, this Lowell Fulson cover features Elvis in his rawest form. The song captures a loose, after-hours feel with Elvis shouting encouragement to saxophonist Boots Randolph during his solo Blow Boots Blow. It's a moment of pure musical spontaneity rarely heard on Elvis's more polished recordings. What makes this track special is how it contradicts the narrative that Elvis abandoned his rock and roll roots after returning from Germany. Here, just weeks after his discharge, Elvis delivers a performance that's every bit as primal as his son records days, but with added vocal maturity. The recording quality is outstanding for 1960, with exceptional clarity that allows listeners to hear Elvis's voice in all its bluesy glory. Elvis biographer Peter Gurunik has singled out this performance as evidence that Elvis remained connected to his musical roots even as commercial pressures pushed him toward more mainstream material. Despite its quality, the track was never released as a single and remains primarily known only to serious Elvis enthusiasts. Number 8. It Hurts Me, 1964. Can a B-side outshine the hit? This remarkable ballad was relegated to the flip side of Kissin' Cousins, but is Elvis's dramatic vocal abilities at their finest. Written by Charlie Daniels before his Devil Went Down to Georgia fame and Bob Johnston, the song provides Elvis with material worthy of his interpretive skills. The song's narrator watches the woman he loves suffering in a bad relationship, a scenario that allows Elvis to display remarkable emotional range from tender concern to powerful anguish. What makes this recording special is how Elvis builds the performance, starting with restrained verses before unleashing his full vocal power in the choruses. The dynamic arrangement complements Elvis perfectly, with subtle guitar work giving way to dramatic orchestration that never overwhelms the vocal. Elvis recorded the song in Nashville in January 1964, during a productive session that yielded several quality recordings amid an otherwise forgettable movie soundtrack period. Despite being hidden as a B-side, the song became something of a cult favorite among more discerning fans, and Elvis himself recognized its quality, featuring it years later in his 1968 comeback special. Music critic Dave Marsh has called it one of Elvis's greatest performances, period. Yet, it remains largely unknown to casual fans who know only his biggest hits. Number 7. Long Black Limousine, 1969. Can tragedy inspire greatness? This haunting track opened Elvis's landmark From Elvis in Memphis album and set the tone for his crucial 1969 creative renaissance. The song tells the story of someone who left home seeking fame and fortune, only to return in a funeral procession, a narrative that might have resonated with Elvis as he contemplated his own journey from poverty to excess. Elvis infuses the lyrics with genuine emotion, his voice conveying both power and vulnerability. The arrangement by producer Chips Moman balances country soul and gospel elements perfectly, creating a sound that was both contemporary and timeless. What makes this track special is how it represents Elvis's artistic rebirth. After years of movie soundtracks, Elvis returned to Memphis to record material that mattered to him. Working with new musicians at American Sound Studio, rather than his usual team, Elvis sounds reinvigorated and deeply invested in the material. The song builds to an emotional climax with Elvis repeating "The Long Black Limousine" with increasing intensity, his voice cracking with emotion. While hits like "In the Ghetto" and "Suspicious Minds" from these sessions received more attention. This album opener demonstrated immediately that Elvis had reclaimed his artistic voice after years in the wilderness of formulaic movies. The track remains a favorite among serious Elvis fans, but is rarely included on greatest hits collections targeted at casual listeners. Number 6. You Don't Know Me, 1967. Can Elvis make a standard his own? This Eddie Arnold country classic had already been recorded by Ray Charles and dozens of others before Elvis tackled it. Yet he manages to make it sound like it was written specifically for him. Recorded for the Clambake soundtrack, but far superior to most of the film's lightweight material, Elvis delivers a master class in vocal restraint and emotional nuance. The song's theme of unrequited love allows Elvis to tap into a vulnerability rarely heard in his more bombastic hits. What makes this recording special is the subtle shading in Elvis's voice, the way he caresses certain phrases and slightly holds back rather than powering through the song. The arrangement features beautiful orchestration that supports, rather than overwhelms, the vocal. Elvis recorded this during a difficult personal period. His marriage to Priscilla was showing early signs of strain, and he was increasingly frustrated with his movie career. Perhaps those real-life conflicts informed his remarkably lived-in performance. Producer Felton Jarvis deserves credit for creating space in the mix for Elvis's voice to shine through with minimal echo or effects, allowing listeners to hear every nuance. While other artists had hits with this song, Elvis's version reveals his underappreciated skills as an interpretive vocalist who could bring new dimensions to familiar material. Despite its quality, it remained album track rather than single, leaving it overlooked by those who know only Elvis's chart successes. Number 5. Stranger in My Own Hometown, 1969. Did Elvis understand what it felt like to be an outsider? This Percy Mayfield blues cover from the American Sound Studio sessions captures Elvis at his most soulful and defiant. The lyrics about returning to find you no longer fit in where you once belonged must have struck a chord with Elvis, who had become increasingly isolated by fame. Backed by exceptional Memphis musicians, including Reggie Young on guitar and Bobby Wood on piano, Elvis delivers a gritty, funky performance that shows his affinity for rhythm and blues remained intact. What makes this track special is how Elvis abandons his usual polish for something grittier and more spontaneous. His vocals move from a near-spoken intro to powerful shouting by the song's conclusion. You can hear Elvis's genuine enthusiasm when he calls out "Play it, Reggie" during the guitar solo, a moment of authentic musical interaction rarely captured on his more controlled recordings. The song's theme of alienation gains extra poignancy when considering Elvis's complicated relationship with Memphis, the city he put on the musical map but could no longer experience as a normal citizen due to his celebrity. Despite being one of the Tano tracks from these legendary Memphis sessions, the song was initially relegated to a budget compilation album rather than featured as a single, ensuring it remained undiscovered by many casual fans. For those seeking evidence that Elvis remained connected to authentic, soulful music throughout his career, this track offers compelling proof. Number 4. If I Can Dream, 1968. Can a song change a career? This powerful anthem closed Elvis's 1968 NBC comeback special and announced to the world that Elvis Presley was still relevant in the turbulent cultural landscape of the late 1960s. Written quickly by W. Earl Brown, specifically for the special after the assassination of Robert Kennedy, the song addressed the social upheaval of the era with lyrics inspired by Martin Luther King Jr.'s famous speeches. Elvis delivers one of his most impassioned vocals ever recorded, building from tender hope to full-throated emotional climax. What makes this recording special is how it represents a crucial turning point in Elvis's career. After years of lightweight movie roles had diminished his cultural significance, this performance reminded audiences of Elvis's power as a vocalist and his ability to connect with important themes beyond teen romance. The arrangement brilliantly builds tension, with subtle orchestration giving way to a gospel choir as Elvis's voice soars to its emotional peak. Elvis reportedly recorded over 30 takes of the song, demanding perfection on material he genuinely believed in. While the song reached pound 12 on the charts, it's often overshadowed by his earlier rock classics and later bombastic performances. Yet this recording represents Elvis at his most authentic and committed, reconnecting with his gospel roots while addressing contemporary concerns. The song's success helped convince Elvis to return to live performing after years of making movies, essentially launching the final chapter of his performing career. Number 3. Any Day Now, 1969. Can heartbreak sound this beautiful? This Burt Bacharach-Bob Hilliard composition had been a hit for Chuck Jackson, but Elvis makes it entirely his own in this Dano track from his American Sound studio sessions. Elvis's version transforms the R&B original into something more introspective and emotionally complex. The aching vulnerability in Elvis's voice perfectly captures the lyrics about anticipating the pain of an inevitable breakup. What makes this recording special is the remarkable control in Elvis's performance. The way he holds back during verses, his voice barely above a whisper at times, before opening up with controlled emotion in the chorus. The arrangement, featuring tasteful strings and female backing vocals, creates a sophisticated backdrop that complements rather than competes with the vocal. Producer Chips Moman deserves credit for creating a contemporary sound that placed Elvis firmly in the late 1960s adult contemporary landscape, rather than trying to recapture his earlier rock and roll style. While other tracks from these sessions, like In the Ghetto and Suspicious Minds, received more attention and airplay, this album showcases Elvis's remarkable range as a vocalist and interpreter. The song's themes of impending loss and resignation might have resonated with Elvis during a period when his marriage was beginning to show signs of strain. Though never released as a single, the track remains a favorite among musicians and serious Elvis fans who appreciate its subtle emotional complexity and Elvis's masterful vocal control. Number 2. Polk Salad, Annie. Live, 1970. Can Elvis turn a swamp rock obscurity into a showstopper? This Tony Joe White composition became a cornerstone of Elvis's live shows in the 1970s, despite never being one of his studio recordings. The song's tale of Southern poverty and resilience allowed Elvis to reconnect with his roots while painting his revitalized stage presence. The definitive version appears on Stage, Elvis's 1970 live album, capturing the raw energy of his early Vegas performances before the excesses of touring took their toll. What makes this performance special is how Elvis transforms a relatively simple song into an extended musical adventure. His playful narrative asides, her daddy was lazy and no count. His karate moves during instrumental breaks and his dynamic interaction with the band turn the song into something much greater than the sum of its parts. The TCB band, especially guitarist James Burton and drummer Ronnie Tutt, provide the perfect, swampy backdrop for Elvis to work his magic. Elvis clearly enjoys himself throughout, repeatedly extending the song with false endings and encouraging band members to take additional solos. While Elvis's Vegas years are often dismissed as representing his creative decline, this performance demonstrates how vital and exciting he remained as a live performer in 1970. His ability to take an obscure song and make it completely his own speaks to his often underappreciated skills as an arranger and band leader. Though never one of his biggest hits, Polk Salad Annie, became so associated with Elvis that many listeners assumed it was his composition rather than a cover version. Number 1. Promised Land. 1973. Can Elvis rock in the 1970s? This propulsive Chuck Berry cover from December 1973 proves Elvis could still deliver authentic, high-energy rock and roll when given the right material. Recorded at Stax Studios in Memphis, the track features Elvis in fine voice, attacking the lyrics about a cross-country journey with genuine enthusiasm. The song's narrative about leaving the South to find success in California paralleled Elvis's own journey from Memphis to Hollywood years earlier. What makes this recording special is how it contradicts the narrative that Elvis lost his rock and roll credentials in his later years. The driving arrangement features exceptional playing, particularly from drummer Ronnie Tutt and guitarist James Burton, while Elvis sounds fully engaged and energized. Producer Felton Jarvis captures a robust contemporary sound that placed Elvis firmly in the 1970s rather than trying to recapture his 1950s glory. The song reached pound 14 on the Billboard Hot 100, but received less radio exposure than many of his earlier classics, leaving it somewhat overlooked in his massive catalog. Recorded during a period of personal turmoil, his marriage to Priscilla had recently ended. The session demonstrated Elvis's ability to compartmentalize his personal struggles and deliver powerful performances in the studio. While health issues and artistic inconsistency would plague his final years, this track stands as evidence that when properly motivated and given strong material, Elvis remained capable of creating vital, exciting music well into the 1970s. The song's driving rhythm and Elvis's forceful delivery make it stand alongside his best rock performances from any era. Do you think Elvis deserves more credit for his post-Army recordings? Could these overlooked gems change how we view the later chapters of the King's career?